please give the most wonderful Sunday morning welcome to our incredible guests, my friends. We've got Nick Apostolides.
Break my neck. What's up, everybody? Hello. A nice little intimate room here.
Yeah, this will be so nice. And great turn up for a Sunday morning. Thanks for that.
Yes, seriously. Who was out partying, clubbing last night? Who was doing their thing?
Oh, you know me.
Good. That's why we're here. I'm Nick Apostolides, and I'm most well known for video game acting, Resident Evil, Leon Kennedy sort of thing. Who's some Resi fans here? Woo! Almost all of you. Okay. For those who did not raise their hand, go play Resident Evil tonight. There's about 24 games to choose from. Have your pick.
You've done like a ton of stuff, right? Do you have a favorite medium to work in, or are you the type of actor that's like, I just love to do the work?
No, I do.
Okay, what is it?
Yes, I do a lot of things, but I'm predominantly a very physical actor. So I prefer the live action stuff, like on camera, film and TV, but that's how I got into, I'm sorry, I'm eating an Altoid and it's like a, sorry about that.
Okay, ASMR.
But I love, my heart is in performance capture. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's not just the voiceover stuff in the booth, doing the lines. This is when you're acting almost like theater. You're in kind of like an empty warehouse of a room with like 100 infrared cameras staring at you. And you've got the funny suit on with the little shiny balls. That's what we do. So we act out these scenes in these games, just like theater. You do the whole scenes with your scene partners and everything, and then they just take your digital skeleton with those shiny balls, and then they put an avatar over you. They're recording your facial expressions, your voice, everything at the same time. And that's what I prefer because I feel like my body is into it. Whereas in back of the microphone, if you're in the booth doing voiceover, which I also do for these projects, I still embody the movements. For instance, for the gamers here, when you do those efforts, when Leon has to climb on something, it's that like, I'm moving my body in the booth, even though you don't see it, but I have to imagine it, and it sounds a bit different if you just go, versus, for me, I gotta do it. So I'm very connected with my body. So long answer to that question was performance capture. I like the physical stuff. I like using my body.
That we, people who have not actually physically done it, wouldn't really know about.
The tech. So that's the hardest thing to get used to is, the suit is not a big deal. You're kind of like wearing like a leotard essentially, which is fine, you get over it. But you're also wearing like a big belt with all kinds of equipment on that belt. There's the battery pack for the microphone. There's the battery pack for the helmet and the camera and everything. So that's attached to you. It's obtrusive, it's all around you, and if you have to do a scene where you get shot and you fall on your back, you have to be wary of all this equipment that might break and stuff, and it gets jostled around, so that's a pain in the butt. And then, on top of all that, we wear a helmet. You've probably seen in BTS at this point, online, you wear a helmet with a bar that comes around like this with a little GoPro camera, essentially aiming right at your face to show the animators the reference of the voice. So when you're doing stuff like, the animators can see that, and then they essentially draw an animation to match that with the character. It's just all reference stuff. So you've got this camera right in front of you. So if you're doing like a kissing scene, obviously that's not going to work because the other actress has a camera as well. So what you have to do is, like in a scene where in a film you do a kiss, in mocap you'd have to offset your faces, and so you embrace, you hug the body or whatever, and then I go over here, she'll go over here, and you do a fake kiss, and the animators move the head and they connect them.
That's nuts.
Sometimes they'll film it twice, and they will do the offset weird one, so they're getting your facial expression, the puckered lips. And then they'll film it again without the helmets on, so the bodies are more true, and you get that data of the bodies matching up, and then they'll stitch those two takes together. So it's a very like disjointed process, but they make it look tall. We had a similar challenge with Resident Evil 4 because Salazar is, he's about 3 feet tall, but the actor that portrayed him is actually taller than me. And so when I was acting with Marcio, my eye line was always down here, and I was talking to Marcio's feet, essentially, and I was like, you know, fuck you. And Marcio had to look up, like way over my head, and be like, hand over the girl. You know, so it's that's a challenge too, because when you're acting with somebody, you want to be connected, and I want to look at you and tell you off, but if I'm looking at your feet, be like, hey, don't steal my ice cream. It's just a little bit weird. You gotta psych yourself up for it.
Yes, before this happened.
Was it the audition process, all of this, more difficult for you because you felt so close to it? I know I just talk a lot about, like, I try not to get too attached to stuff or whatever. Or did you think it profoundly benefited you to be a fan?
Okay, so that's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
Because I was a giant fan, I knew that the fans were going to have expectations and heavy opinions on, like, if I did get the role, that would be great for me. But also a lot of fans might not like that because he's been portrayed by amazing actors who I'm friends with now to this day. But because I was a fan, 2 great things happened. Number one, I really, really understood the role I was going up for. I was a fan of him for 18 years before I auditioned. And so I knew everything about him, everything about the relationships, the other characters, the universe, everything. And of course, that informed my audition, right? And secondly, after I had my call back, that's the final round of auditions when they're doing their considering of maybe like 5 to 6 guys, I wrote the director a very pointed email, and, well, not begging for the role, but I just said to the guy, I said, look, I'm not the only person in LA that can play this role. There's a lot of talented actors. I said, but my heart is in, it's my favorite franchise. I know everything about it, and I will give you one hell of a version of a young Leon if you give me the shot. And they actually took that into consideration when I was probably against like 2 to 3 guys at the very end, and they were like, this guy knows the series, let's give him a shot. And so that actually like pushed me over the edge, probably. So it helped and hurt. Yeah.
There are, I'm sure, so many things that you love about him, I'm sure. Are there also things that you just hate about him, that you're like, I cannot stand this aspect of you, whether it's because it's so different from you, or it was hard to portray, or exhausting to portray?
Honestly, he's so close to my own qualities, I guess, that even the silly things he does in Resident Evil 2 remake, especially when he was a lot younger, he was a bit more naive. He was the most naive that he's ever been in all of his iterations, all of his ages and everything. And I mean, sometimes I'm like that. I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I just see the world for, like, you know, I see the world through an optimistic lens, and I always want to believe everyone's a good person, and that monster's not going to really kill me. He just wants to share a cookie with me or something. I don't know. I would say I'm very similar, and I think that's part of the reason I was cast, was because Capcom told me when I had questions. I said, how do you want to portray this guy in this remake? They said, do not copy anything that's been done. They said, try to even forget all the past games if you can, which was hard for me. But they said, we cast you because we see the essence of a young Leon in your personality. And they said, just inject some Nick in there. And I was like, okay. So it was an easy role in that sense, that it wasn't like a stretch of the imagination, like, oh my God, he wants to save the world and just help everyone around him. That wasn't a stretch, because if we did have a zombie apocalypse, I would try to save you all. I don't know if that would work, but I would try.
So don't worry about me, I'm gonna give up real fast. You know? Was there something, like a certain scene, that you were really looking forward to, or that really you felt like strengthened you as an actor? You're like, I'm different now that I've done that. I have expanded now that I've done that.
I would just say that every time you work with a great director, you learn so much. I mean, these directors I've worked with, Darren Ross, Tom Keegan, Steve Kniebly, on these games, and some other franchises as well. Like, you just learn a lot. Everyone has a different perspective, but these guys that you work with, and these women, they have just years and like decades of experience from different projects, and they bring that to the projects. And what makes these people good directors is that they know how to work with different types of actors. So when I was playing Resident Evil 2 Remake, I had 2 directors on that project, and each one had their own style, and I was a bit more green as an actor. I've been acting for like 3 to 4 years. I had a lot of experience, but not as much as I do now. And they saw that I didn't have the theater training, that kind of background, and they came kind of like down to my level, and they understood how to speak to me and get through to me. If they needed something out of Leon in this particular scene, they knew how to ask for it. They come up with scenarios and be like, it's kind of like this scenario here. You ever have that in real life? And I would be like, oh yeah. And they would just help me understand what they were trying to get out of me. And so when you work with these people, they just make you a better actor. So it wasn't any particular scene. It was just working with good directors. And now I'm just more experienced because of them, really.
This is so beautiful. This is art. This is an amazing story that you just are really admiring that's out there right now.
This would take up the whole panel.
I love it.
I play so many different types of games, different genres, different consoles. I travel a lot. I live on planes and in lounges, and so I have my Switch as my best little buddy right beside me. I don't even watch movies anymore. I love Metroidvanias. I do a lot of grinding in Metroidvania genres when I have long flights. And I just played a beautiful little series. Anyone played Ori in the Blind Forest? That series 1 and 2. Ori is a beautiful experience. I absolutely loved 1 and 2. I just beat Biomorph. I'm playing Bloodstained again. Blasphemous is one of my favorite games in the past decade. It's like a 16-bit 2D side-scroller platforming game. It's fantastic. And then there's your survival horrors. I'm playing Silent Hill 2 right now, remake. I'm in the hospital, about halfway through. Game's making me jump. And then I play a lot of online games with my friends. That's how I link up my social hour with Helldivers 2, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone, stuff like that.
My question for you is, I love Resident Evil. I do. I love this setting. I love yes, well, put a pin in that. Okay, won't you? Yes, I sure do play. I've turned it on many times, and I've picked up the controller many times. And my question is, how do I beat the game? Please help me.
They could help you.
Gang? I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe, you know what, let's blame it on this. This isn't for me time. I get distracted by how great the cutscenes are, and I don't want to do anything else. I have watched compilations over and over again that I say, I'm doing it, I'm playing the game. And I'm in the first bit of it, and it's been a few years.
This will be fun. On the count of 3, everyone shout out one little piece of advice
I'm
for her.
focused. Wait.
Just everybody shout out all at the same time. What's the advice for her to beat these games? 1, 2, 3. Did you get that?
Honestly, run is so good. Because I do, but that's true. Right? I spend so much time, I want to see everything. And I think I'm walking around and I'm exploring too much. I'm allowing the danger to come to me too quickly. So maybe if I just take off.
This is not that type of a game where you just go and announce yourself in a room like, zombies, I'm here. Who's got some herbs for me? No, that's not how it works. This is not an open world game. These are survival horrors. And you've got to find ammo, survive, use them sparingly, find healing items because you're going to get bit. I mean, we gotta get you playing.
Yeah.
What would it take to get you playing?
Well, okay, so I had
You had one.
a Wii. Oh yeah, I had a Wii, right? And then I have a Switch now, and I bought a PC a couple years ago literally just to play Baldur's Gate. It's the only game I have on that PC, except for some. And you said, are you a gamer? To that I say yes. You ever played the Nancy Drew detective games?
Not those.
Let me tell you.
I think every game but that, actually. Every one.
Well, you got it. If you really want to be a gamer, you really got to look into those. Yeah.
Mega Man. And Nancy Drew. There's like a killer trio.
Yeah, true.
So their remake, so obviously they're after Resident Evil 4, a lot of people want to see other old Resident Evil games be remade. Which game would you want to see remade the most out of all the games that haven't been remade up to this point?
Am I still on? Yeah. I would honestly say Code Veronica, and that's because Code Veronica was such a wild story, and I think a modern remake would just be totally wacky. And I would just love to see what Capcom would do with that story now.
And it wouldn't bother you that Leon's not in that game?
No. I like all the games in the series. There's like 24 games altogether with spin-offs. It's a lot, so you probably did a lot of research. But I would say Code Veronica, selfishly, that's what I would love to see.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus.
I think, yeah, it is. I feel like.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this just because I don't want you to get in trouble here. So, if you would have any on-screen banter with any of the other main characters, who would you pick?
On-screen banter?
Yeah.
I think it'd be funny with Chris Redfield, just because there's such a like a sibling rivalry sort of thing going on with their chemistry and their history, and so I think that would be funny as hell.
Feel
I think
when people typically mischaracterize Leon or twist his personality in a way that isn't true to his character.
Oh, I take it personal at this point. It's like, no, I wouldn't do. I mean, Leon wouldn't do that. No, I think he's pretty straightforward. I feel like he is someone who wears his heart on his sleeve, and if people are a fan of his past but older renditions, you know, in like Resident Evil 6 and Vendetta and some of those projects, he's a bit older. I think he deals with like alcoholism just because of his PTSD. But the reason he's in such pain is because it's like he hasn't been able to do what he wants to do, and that's make a difference. So at the heart of it, it's still good stuff. He's still a good person. But the fact that nothing ever changes, no matter how many times he tries to save the world, is just a new outbreak. And it's just getting to him. So I think people just recognize that. He's not a mess. He's not like he's not a bad person at all. So I've never actually come across that. No one's ever said that to me or asked, like, why would Leon do that? I think people understand that he's just a good guy.
Because I was just, while I was sitting there with my friend, I was scrolling through stuff and I was like, I don't think he would do this, because a lot of people, at least in certain medias, portray him as toxic, and I don't think he is that way at all.
I've never actually heard that, but yeah, if anyone ever asked me about that, I would probably try to defend it, because I am familiar with all of his versions.
So I know there's a big contrast between True Remake Leon and Full Remake Leon. While you said True Remake Leon was a bit more naive and wanted to see best and everything, while Full Remake Leon is more, I wouldn't say broken, but a bit more depressed and affected by what happened in 2. While he's a lot more serious, he's also very caring with Ashley, very sarcastic, and throws back like insults and stuff, and jokes at Salazar and Krauser. Do you have to put yourself in a certain mindset for like that type of character?
Yeah, for sure. The sarcastic, badass stuff when he's always facing off against these baddies, that was just me tapping into like the 80s action hero I always wanted to be as a kid. Growing up with like your John McClane. John McClane from Die Hard was a really big influence for me. That he was just a regular Joe, getting his ass kicked, but he's also giving it back and always just sarcastic and not letting it get to him. So tapped into that a little bit. They let me like kind of take those chains off and just go for it. I wanted to be a bit more badass in the RE2 remake, but they would always really back in and be like, he's not quite so badass. He's still a rookie. He's still trying to figure it out. So he kind of rallied towards the end of that game. But then in 4, they were like, remember that guy you wanted to play?
No thanks, bro.
Sure. I didn't say the original line. That was actually originally voiced by Paul Mercier. He's one of my absolute favorite heroes of mine. He's one of the reasons I'm acting today is because of him. And he says, no thanks, bro.
Oh my God, that was cool.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
I I have a question. If you personally had to choose any type of zombie apocalypse in any fiction, I Am Legend, Walking Dead,
Ooh.
which one would you choose to survive in, and do you believe that you will survive in it?
I believe you would. I've known him all 20
I
minutes. I think we'll be fine.
28 years, still here?
Does Nancy Drew have a
There is a zombie, yes.
Really?
Yeah, but they're not actual zombies. Obviously, she cracks the case. So, yeah. But there are, that's a great question. So many different types of zombies.
What a question. I would say Night of the Living Dead. That one, or Evil Dead. One of those two. That would be cool.
Thank you.
That's a great question.
Yeah, what's the one?
Oh, this is way tall. Okay, hi. I wanted to ask, this is a very silly question. You said you play Fortnite. Do you play yourself in Fortnite? Because I know there's a Leon Kennedy skin.
No, I missed that opportunity. He was in the shop for a bit. I didn't get it. My friend was trying to gift him to me, and it like never went through. I don't know, and then I missed it, and right now I just play as Raphael.
Yeah, that's very great, but they definitely have to hook you up though.
One day, hopefully.
I feel like an email can be sent. Hey,
Yeah, maybe.
it's me.
I should get on that.
Can I have that? Thank you, my friend.
Sorry. So I have like a very basic question. If you had to pick one game in the Resident Evil franchise to say it was your favorite, what would it be?
The original 4. And the reason I say that is because I started with the original 2 back in 1998, and then my younger brother was growing up. He was 12 years younger than me, so I was playing those games, and when he was 5, I got him started on my path, and I said, Dave, because I was playing PlayStation 1 at that point when he was about 5, and so I said, but you're not going to start PlayStation 1, Dave. I said, you're going to play Nintendo. So I started him with Mario Brothers. It's a very simple game, jumping on the bricks and Goombas and all that. He started loving Mario, and then he got into, I think, GameCube with Mario Sunshine, and he was loving his Mario. And then when he was 9 years old, Resident Evil 4 came out, and I looked at him and I was like, Dave, I think you're ready. And I would babysit him all the time, of course, and my parents are out, and I said, Dave, do you want to play a big boy game this weekend? And he was like, yeah. And I introduced him to Resident Evil, so he went from Mario Sunshine to Resident Evil 4 with a chainsaw guy and everything, and he had nightmares for freaking weeks. But something kept bringing him back, because he saw me and how much I enjoy the games, and he's like, I kind of want to try it myself, and he would start playing, and he fell in love from there on it. So that's been our favorite game together since it came out. That's why it has to be my favorite, and I beat that with him like probably 50 times.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey man, not asking for any
I'm
particular
pretty sure
reason.
that I forced him to.
Okay.
So I probably sat behind him, coaching him, rubbing his
Okay.
shoulders. I'm like, come on, Dave, you got this. You can
Okay.
beat this out.
There was
He's
an
like,
extra support system
I
there.
got this. Yeah, and I would give him little hinters, and I'd be like, hey, Dave, you missed that shotgun ammo. You're gonna need that.
That makes me feel better.
I might need to do that. I might need to coach you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to cash in a favor.
Okay, we're gonna do that. We're gonna stream this together.
Thank you, my friend. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Victoria. What was one of the most rewarding lessons that you learned while performing as Leon?
That's a good question too. They're all good questions, but some I've just never heard, no matter how many times I do these. I just want to take a moment because I feel like this should be a profound answer because I've learned quite a bit.
And there's so many different ways to take that, right? It's like a lesson you learned from
I
your
could
character.
answer this for 3 hours and give you a bunch of answers, and they're all relevant. But I would say I'll give a shout out to Capcom because I've been a fan of Capcom. I think they were my first developer I fell in love with back in like the early 90s with Mega Man, and then decades later I get the opportunity to collaborate with them on this franchise, which is my favorite one of all time. And I guess for all the gamers out there, all you guys playing these games, Fortnite, everything, just know how much the developers really care about their IPs and their franchise and the games, even if it's a one-off. Like these indie developers now, these people like a room of 5 people, talented people, programming and coding these indie games all the way up to AAA games, which is your big budget, Resident Evils, your Red Dead 2s and all that. Just know how much they actually care. They put so much time and thought and effort into these games for years and years. They're storytellers. Like, they want people to have a good time. Of course, there's money involved. We all want to make money. This is a capitalistic society, but these people really give a damn. That's one good lesson I took out of it. Like, every little detail they think about. And that blew me away. I was like, wow, this is why I like your game so much, because you put so much heart into it, So that was really cool.
Thank you.
This is such a stupid question, but it's really been plaguing my mind. Do you think that Leon is a natural blonde, or does he dye his hair? Because, well, the later installments, and I know those are not your portrayals, but still, he is like a brunette, so I don't know. What's that about?
He's actually a redhead.
Oh my god.
He dyes it.
No, don't tell me that.
It can't be true.
Oh, I love that.
Do you blonde or brunette? What's your preference?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think the blonde suits him, but I think it's one of those things with maybe with the age, he kind of had to, he realized it was too
Give up the blonde lifestyle.
I think I would say dirty blonde.
Yeah.
I think he just looks dirty blonde to me.
He's like, he gets older and it just like naturally turned darker.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hard-hitting journalism. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course.
Let me comment on Cool Veronica. I was thinking my original question sort of got asked, but it's still in terms of characterization. How much do you think those hey honey got no glasses lines are him? Like you mentioned he throws one-liners and living that cool life. Is he making it into, is he faking it until he makes it, or is that just him coming to life? Right?
Oh, well, I think he's just kind of like a cheeky guy sometimes, and I think my version of him in 4 anyways, is all those little jokes he kind of peppers in. I think that's a way to help him cope with what he's dealing with and the unbelievable situation he's facing. All these people trying to kill him, and he's got to just give it back to them a little bit. So I think he's not trying to be a jerk. I mean, to the bad guys he is, but in real life, even if he's joking with his friends or his colleagues or whatever, it's just his way of coping. That's my opinion. I don't know.